Congressman, we thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to spend the entire topic here, the entire time talking about what's going on in Minneapolis with the unrest, and then also how it affects us here locally as well. So we want to start with, as of this taping, the Minneapolis unrest continues. The protests continue in light of the death of Renee Good. First of all, your thoughts about what happened in Minneapolis and what has happened since.
Well, I think it's, if we want to back up and take it chronologically, we are here today in this position because of what Joe Biden did, letting 10 to 15 million illegal aliens into our great nation. And President Trump came in with a pledge, as did we as on the Republican side, that in the America First agenda, we are going to work to actively deport those here illegally, primarily criminal illegal aliens. The left does not like that. They, I think a large segment of them in Washington want to have this added population, which is, during the census, adding 2 congressional seats for the Democrats. I don't think that's what our founding fathers had in mind, to count illegal aliens as part of the demographic and numbers for a congressional district, but that's what's happening. We want to right the ship. President Trump wants to right the ship. We recognize that Alejandro Mayorkas, I think the biggest liar since Pinocchio, said there was no crisis, when we knew all along there was a crisis. The border is now secure, and the active deportations and repatriations of these illegal individuals to their home country is underway. The left does not like that, and so they're making every effort they can to stop it. I think you're seeing the culmination of that combined with the fraud that's taken place in the Somalia community in Minnesota that's kind of made that a focal point, a fire starter point almost, if you will, in our nation, because that has attracted the attention of the liberals, the progressives who wants to go there and protect these illegal aliens and to protect the fraud, I think, that's going on in the Somalia community. I want to be very clear, though, Brad. I have always been for legal immigration. I come from a family of immigrants that came from England in the 1700s and settled in Tennessee and then later Texas. So I know that our country is founded on legal immigration. I think legal immigrants contribute to the fabric of America, but illegal immigrants tear apart the fabric of America, put strain on our healthcare system, put strain on our welfare system. Americans have good hearts, and I think individuals like Ms. Good, who had a good heart, wanted to go to Minnesota. I know she and her wife had moved up there, I think 8 months prior to that, from Kansas City. But I'm not doubting her motives, I'm doubting her actions. Any individual who would stand in the way of law enforcement officers carrying out their legal duty to deport illegal aliens. It's very unfortunate about what happened to her, but I do believe that she and many other individuals up there are brainwashed by the left into thinking that they are doing good by interfering, deterring, even some assaulting federal police officers. And that cannot stand in America. We can't have that anywhere. You couldn't have it on the streets here in Kansas City if Kansas City, Missouri police officers were trying to effect an arrest and citizens stood in the way of that arrest. If you want to protest, great. I love driving by the plaza and seeing people out there at Mill Creek Park protesting. I do not agree with them, but that's what America is about, in a peaceful manner. But when you get in the way of law enforcement, it's not good.
Some would say that ICE agents and the response has been too overreaching, has gone too far, has been too strong-armed. Your thoughts?
Well, look, ICE has done what it's had to do to affect the detainment and arrest of individuals here illegally. You might remember when they went into California originally earlier this year, they weren't wearing masks, But because of the doxing of these individuals, because of the threats, because of the protests that turned violent, they had to suit up in what would consider unnecessary uniforms and garbs that look militaristic. Before, they weren't wearing those types of uniforms. They weren't wearing masks, but they want to go home at night. They want their families to be safe. They don't want to be identified because they don't want people showing up their house threatening their families or threatening them. And so that's one of the unfortunate realities now that they're operating under, having to wear body armor. I mean, police officers here in the metro, Kansas City Metro, wear body armor. You don't see it because it's under their uniforms. ICE officers are wearing it on the outside of their uniforms, and it's fatigue-like military-type clothing.
But so you don't think that ICE agents in any capacity have gone too far in addressing what's going on in Minneapolis?
I think the ICE officers, the video that I've seen, have taken the necessary steps to maintain control, especially when law enforcement there has been asked, local law enforcement, to help support them, and they have abandoned the federal officers. That's the scary part about it. The federal government has asked for backup on a state and local level and have been denied that. And we've seen freeze frames of radio calls that have gone out to police officers saying, stand down, do not go to these areas. And that's one reason now why President Trump is considering sending in federal military to help back up and support and protect our federal officers.
Just days after Renee Good's death, that you proposed a plan to build or to have a construction of or a building taken over to be made into an ICE detention facility. Why at this point?
Yeah. Well, it came to my attention this last week that Mayor Quentin Lucas and those on the city council had opposed a sale of a empty warehouse, basically down at the old Richard Gebauer base, to be transformed, to be bought by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and make a facility there where they would have a detention center, basically between 7,500 and 10,000 beds. These centers are being placed all around the country in different regions. In Kansas City, because we are the heart of America, our proximity logistically is advantageous. When these individuals are detained, they have to go somewhere before they go through the adjudication process and are repatriated back to their homes. If Kansas City wants to fight that and does not want to be a city of law and order, my suggestion was to the Department of Homeland Security is that Cass County in the 4th Congressional District would be more than willing to be a home for that. There are 2 locations. Neither one of them are near any neighborhoods, so this would not affect neighborhoods. I know there's a lot of pushback. There was a landfill issue there a couple of years ago in Raymore. This is not that type of situation. This is a 7-acre tract just off I-49, used to be 71 Highway, at Scott Road and 155th Street, near Richard Gebauer. There's an old abandoned trailer park that has been torn down. That's owned by the city. That's nearby. But that's a very depressed area. It needs some economic boost. That 7-acre tract was bought by Cass County, and they had planned on putting an extension of the law enforcement center there. That would be the northern part of Cass County, and they decided against that just this week. So I contacted one of the county commissioners who thought this might be a good idea, at least to offer this alternative to the Department of Homeland Security, because Cass County in the 4th Congressional District overall is an area that believes in law enforcement and believes in the mission of ICE and repatriating these individuals back to their home countries.
What would be the primary benefits to the residents of Cass County?
I think number one, the jobs that would come with this. This is a big facility. It's going to bring jobs, and it's going to be an economic boost to that particular blighted area, if you will. There's a second area just south of the law enforcement complex in Cass County. I know you've been to there in Harrisonville. The county owns 70 acres there, and they're looking at expanding there. That facility was put in some 20 years ago. I talked to the sheriff, Jeff Weber. They have already outgrown that facility. They house right now federal inmates there. I don't think a lot of people realize how many federal inmates are housed at county facilities. All over the 4th Congressional District, counties are housing, and they're getting $80 to $100 a day per individual. So they're looking at expanding the law enforcement center there in Cass County, and this could be a symbiotic relationship to have the ICE facility there as well.
But you can understand why so many people would disagree with what's happened in Minneapolis, and a distrust of ICE as a whole. There are many people who have expressed that sentiment. Why bring this into Cass County to bring that controversy to your district?
This is not about bringing controversy. This is about giving law enforcement, which we believe in, and the mission of ICE, giving them an opportunity to have a cooperative government, a cooperative community. I know that not everyone is going to agree with this. And that's why although it was my suggestion, I know it has to go through the processes for Harrisonville if it ends up there, or Belton. Belton has already said, the mayor and the city council there, that they're not interested. That's fine. But at least we're going to get the ball rolling. The other suggestions had been to put, our senators, Schmidt and Hawley, had previously suggested putting an ICE facility at Fort Leonard Wood in Pulaski County. We have 10 square miles of property there in a secure location with a new airport that's partly public airport that we could use for deportation efforts.
You know, Congressman Cleaver has said that it may well end up in Kansas City anyway because of eminent domain, and your thoughts on that happening with just the federal government saying we're going to take this property?
That may very well end up the case. I know that they've gone through negotiations, the current owner of this property and the federal government, and I had read on your website that these negotiations had culminated. I don't think the close of that property has happened yet, where the actual title has changed hands, but that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at when I get back to Washington. I am on the Appropriations Committee now, and 2 of our subcommittees oversee this very effort. The Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee oversees the General Services Agency Administration, which oversees federal properties, and then CJS Subcommittee oversees law enforcement. Homeland Security oversees the ICE, Department of Homeland Security.
One last question, and it goes back to what you were talking about just moments ago, and some of those who fear or who are afraid of ICE agents have demanded that they take their masks off. Right. And you have already responded your thoughts about that and the doxing concerns and things of that nature. Councilman Manny Abarca has suggested that in Jackson County he's proposed an ordinance that would make it illegal for officers in Jackson County to wear masks and when they're on duty. Your thoughts of something like that happening so close to your district?
I think Sheriff Darrell Forte, who is a Democrat, I do believe, shot down that proposal. It is not wise to handcuff and shackle law enforcement in their duties to the public, to carry out their normal duties and to remain safe and to be able to go back to their homes at night. I don't think in most cases law enforcement do wear masks. I know on the federal level they have begun because of the doxing issue. This wasn't something that law enforcement just woke up one day and say, let's start wearing masks because we want to scare people. That's not the issue. The issue is they want to go home at night. They don't want protesters and those who do ill will to their family to show up on their doorstep because their face has been recognized and someone has put it out online. Look at what's happened just this week, just yesterday. Those on a Sunday in St. Paul, Minnesota, including Don Lemon, a former anchor for CNN, leads this charge into a church while church service is going on. The world has turned upside down because of this. There's so much disinformation. There's so much so many lies that are going on, and that is causing, I think, this phobia. It's not fear, it's an irrational fear, and that is a phobia. People are ICE phobic, and many of these protesters, it's part of this Trump derangement syndrome too. They hate Donald Trump so much. President Obama deported far more people than President Trump has right now, and yet you didn't hear a peep about that. No one really protested like you're seeing now, President Obama deporting illegal aliens, but because President Trump is doing it, they say we just can't have this. And so they will show up in massive numbers to do anything they can to stand in the way.
How do we get out of this polarization that we're in right now? Where each side, no matter which side you're on, or if you're somewhere in the middle, there just seems to be no chance to reach any kind of agreement.
Brad, you make a very good point, and that's one thing I strive to do, having been in the communications business for 35 years. I'm trying to bring the temperature down. I'm trying to have conversations. Reverend Cleaver, Congressman Cleaver, is a friend of mine, and we talk about issues like this. We know we're on opposite sides, but unless we can get back to a place in America where we're having face-to-face discussions like this that are non-heated, that don't use emotional tactics, that we can discuss on a reasonable basis. We've got to get back to that in America. Social media is not cutting it, because people will go on social media and say anything they want, and there's no repercussions for that. I'm not saying we need to censor people by any means, but I think we need to take more responsibility in our own lives to make sure that we are communicating effectively, face-to-face with people, having intelligent argumentation, and sometimes just agreeing to disagree.
Congressman, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.